he didn't bid it right and there's more wrong, and so they're going through the contract to make sure we're getting what we said.
Oh man.
But
So
who?
with one of these,
It's there. but
Okay.
The recording is there. Conversation.
Okay, she says, okay.
Morning, John. Some nice threads. I like that.
Got a minute, Barb? Let the day begin.
You're what? Oh. Yeah, or sometimes it's just an allergy or that seed behind it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 16th. The time is 9 a.m. All commissioners are present, along with the auditor, treasurer, coordinator, and county attorney. We will now stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask, are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Then I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Byers and second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carries. Consent items?
Today I have the meeting minute approval for July 2nd, 2024. A resignation, child service social worker Crystal Wozniak, 7/9/2024. Resignation, eligibility worker Seth Bushel, 7/10/2024. And hire a resource conservation, what is that word? Conservationist, thank you. I said my eyes weren't working today. Alyssa Sheevy, start date to be determined.
Okay, hearing the consent items, I'd ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carries.
Auditor Treasurer's items today. First one would be Commissioner warrant approval. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $115,334.81.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the approval of the commissioner warrants.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item then would be the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $160,008.02, or 26 cents, excuse me.
I'd ask for a motion for the approval of the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants.
So moved.
Motion by Noska, second.
Seconded.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants, background sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $131,396.56.
I was asked for a motion for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Roll call?
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Byers,
Yes.
Commissioner Nasca,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes.
Last item I have then today is the MCCC Triman Professional Services Agreement for IFS System Support. Background, Minnesota County Computers Cooperative. MCCC is our managing entity for the county owners and users of the Integrated Financial System Program along with Triman. This is a contract renewal effective January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027 with continuance provisions. The IFS user group has voted to approve the contract, and each county is required to ratify the agreement to confirm our county's continued participation with this program. The agreement and ratification statements are attached for review. Your options are to approve the ratification of the IFS system or do not ratify the agreement. The recommendation is to ratify the IFS support system MCCC/Triman Professional Service Agreement for continued utilization of this program by Todd County.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for support of the professional service agreement for the IFS system support.
I'll make a motion to ratify.
Motion by Nasca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Lauren, Public Works?
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Lauren.
First item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for final payment authorization for our 2024 pavement marking contract. And this will be making final payment to Sir Lines-A-Lot in the amount of $9,739.96 for the 2024 pavement marking contract. Our options are to approve the attached resolution, do not approve resolution, and our recommendation is to approve the attached resolution making said final payment.
Okay, a motion for the final payment for the 2024 pavement marking contract.
I move to make that payment.
Okay, motion by Byers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right, thank you. Our second item on the agenda is a request for approval to replace the salt shed roof at the Long Prairie Shop. The background is the salt shed at the Long Prairie Shop was constructed in the summer of 1993. It has an asphalt shingle roof, and typically those last around 20 years of that age of shingles. This project is listed on our capital improvement plan for our shops. Therefore, the Public Works Department went out and got the following quotes from local contractors. The first one from Long Prairie Lumber for $7,009.07, and one from RJ Contracting and Remodeling LLC for $7,459.07. Our options are to approve the attached quote from Long Prairie Lumber for $7,009.07, or do not replace Long Prairie Shop at this time. And our recommendation moving forward is to approve the attached quote from Long Prairie Lumber for replacement of the salt shed roof for $7,009.07.
Okay, a motion for the replacement of the salt shed roof out at the Public Works.
I'll make a motion to replace with Long Prairie Lumber's bid.
Okay, motion by Nasca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Mitch?
Right on time.
Under the gun.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I'm running a little late, I guess. So the first item up is the request to move approval from $5,000 to $7,000 for house removal project. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending for the demolition of the house for the future parking lot location. The maximum allowable limit made by department heads to be moved for this project is $7,000 instead of the normal $5,000. This is due to the possible change item in this project. The options are to approve the change of the maximum allowable limit from $5,000 to $7,000 only for the demolition of the house project removal. Do not approve. The other option is to do not approve the request. The recommendation to the Todd County Board is to approve the change of the maximum allowable limit from $5,000 to $7,000 only for the demolition of the house project.
Okay. Request to approve the $5,000 to $7,000 for the house removal project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca, discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair. That's for both houses, correct?
We had an original bid of around $31,000, which was approved by the board. Due to changes in what is going on with the houses and the individual that purchased the house no longer taking the house, we're anticipating the limit of, or the amount of change and demolition to be around that under that $7,000 mark. Therefore, that's why we're requesting the change, because we've already approved the bid to remove the houses, and we feel that the Facilities Committee feels it's best to go forward as a change order in this operation and in possible preventative maintenance, if you will, with the amount of money.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, what's the deadline? So, do we give them?
As far as what's the deadline to remove those houses?
Yes.
So right now, our plan of action with my next board action form, we're looking at possible of the 29th of July, because now with the other house not being moved, we do have to do abatement remediation in that house. So in my second board action, if that is approved, the abatement will be done on the 29th, and then we'll have the contractor in shortly after that to remove the debris and level out the lot. So that's what we're hoping to do, is kind of speed along the operation. Obviously, with things going a little bit awry, how they went with the house removal of the house that was purchased to be moved, it threw a wrench in our plan, clearly, and so this is our combatant of that to try and speed up that process.
Madam Chair, I think we need to get those out of there before school starts.
I did indicate to the contractor that our timeline was really starting to push, and he indicated to me that that the 29th, that following week, the first week in August, he would be into demolition of those houses.
Okay.
So.
Any further discussion?
I just would say that we had a lengthy discussion of this at Facilities Committee.
Yeah.
And our thought is any more delay is gonna push it into that school year for sure.
Absolutely.
And, now instead of just a basement, we actually have an entire house to deal with, so.
And with that debris comes cost for dumpsters and those type of things for the contractor that is doing the work. And that's why we feel like we're gonna push that limit of that $5,000 limit, because there's a lot of debris to deal with for that contractor. And yeah, we're hoping to get this thing moving, get it pushed along. Obviously, with the change, we weren't expecting that. We just need to deal with it and move on. So that's why this request is coming through.
Yeah, I think the committee kind of ran this up and down the line that day when we were here, and
Yeah.
I do think it's the best option going forward, so you got put in a very tough position, so we just gotta move forward, deal with it.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank you. My next topic is the abatement of the additional house that is going to be requested. The background is the Facilities Committee is recommending the abatement process to be followed on the house located in the future parking lot location. The bid from MAAC for a total of $6,250 is to complete this process. This follows all guidelines required for removal of additional properties. The options are to approve the bid from MAAC for a total cost of $6,250 to remove the area of concern, or do not excuse me, approve the request. The recommendation is to approve the bid from MAAC for a total of $6,250 to remove areas of concern.
Okay, and is there a motion for the additional abatement for the house of $6,250?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second. Bob, you can have it.
Second by Byers. Discussion?
So just a little background of this MAAC company, they came in and it did a full assessment on the houses originally. That is who we used for the first house that was going to be demolished. So they already had assessment. That cost was fairly insignificant to do that assessment. That's why this company has the contract. Also, there are very few companies in the state that do the remediation.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank
You,
you.
Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch.
Hi, Mike.
Morning, Mike.
Morning.
My board item today, I'd like to hire an additional full-time court security staff member. The background is the sheriff's office is in need of an additional court security staff member to assist in the needs of the department.
Thank you.
And provide security for the courthouse. Options would be to hire that additional court security member or not hire that security member, and our recommendation is to hire the additional court security member to fill the current staffing needs. This has been brought to the board in March, and we tabled it at that point until July, and this is a budgeted item. So.
Yes. Is there a motion to hire the additional full-time court security staff?
I'll make a motion to approve hiring.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. First of all, I'd like to thank Mike for waiting until July. It helps the budget along.
Absolutely,
So,
not a problem at all.
any further discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
You might.
Thanks, Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
First item here this morning is the revocation of CUP 2023-022. CUP 2023-022 was granted on February 6, 2024, and ownership of the property has recently changed hands. The new landowners would like to request that the CUP be revoked from the property as they have no intentions of using the property for the permitted use at this time. The letter from the landowner is attached there also. So the option is to the revocation of the CUP. And so the one single recommendation would be the revocation of CUP 2023-022 per the request of the landowner.
Okay, is there a motion to revoke the CUP 2023-022?
Madam Chair, can we have a discussion before we vote on this?
Yes.
So I got a question on this. So what the hell happens to the fence?
Yeah, we have to work on that as a separate issue. There's some stuff that needs to be addressed in that. John and I have been working with, so Farm Right owns it now, but that's a separate issue from this. And we've been trying to find resolution to that. And I've had some conversations, multiple with Farm Right about that, and I think they have plans to correct that, but they're not finalized at the moment.
But this has been going on for years, and it's just gotta end. I mean, I get emails once a week
Yep.
from a landowner out there. He's concerned, he's a constituent of mine, so I have to represent him because he is a constituent. So how are we gonna resolve this? If we end the CUP, okay, what happens to the fence?
I don't know how much I can say, being that we're actively in the middle of it in the public setting. Does it matter? What's that? Okay, and we're working with a new landowner now. And I've had good, productive conversations with the new owners in the last 2-3 weeks, probably 4 or 5 times already, that have indicated to me that things are heading in a better direction than they had previously.
So have you been informing Mr. People what's been going on?
I have informed him of as much as I possibly can along the way. Following this, he'll get another update. I've been waiting because nothing was set in stone up until these moments, so I didn't want to indicate anything that wasn't formal. So another update will be arriving with the update of this.
Well, as long as if Mr. People is covered.
Yeah, and if you want to stop down, I think it might be better if we had those conversations. I think I can give you a lot more detailed update on where things are at, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to revoke the CUP 2023-022.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And I think I'll be an aye.
I
Yeah.
oppose.
Yeah. With that, it would carry 3-2 vote.
All right, the Long Prairie River Watershed Collaborative Fiscal Agent Agreement. Todd SWC will continue conducting the fiscal agent duties on behalf of the Long Prairie River Watershed Collaborative. Todd County holds the accounts for the SWCD and needs to be a part of the fiscal agent agreement for this reason. This will also, along with Todd County, I didn't get a typo there, so also allow Todd County access to the watershed funds if there's any projects or septic things that we might cost share on. The attached fiscal agent agreement is a continuation of the previous agreement, just with updated dates for this next cycle of watershed-based implementation fund grants. Options are to adopt the fiscal agent agreement or do not. Recommendation is to adopt the fiscal agent agreement for the Long Prairie River Watershed Collaborative.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the Long Prairie River Watershed Fiscal Agreement Agent.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carries.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the time is 9:21. We'll be going into closed session for department head performance evaluation. The commissioners will hold a closed session pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05 3A for the purpose of evaluating the performance of an individual subject to the board's authority. So we're now in closed session then.
I know, this is like, we're sipping, like,
Who's taking care of the property owner? It's been a fight for.
What's going on?
Right.
I've never. Reopen.
All right. Let's rock.
Where's everybody? Come on, get in.
Okay.
Who's here?
I will ask for a motion to reopen the board meeting. The time is 9:51.
So move, open up.
Okay. Motion by Byers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we're open. So the next would be our standing reports. County Auditor Treasurer.
Today's report, I just have that mobile home tax statements are being mailed today. They're due August 31st. We are diligently working on election judge training for online. So if anybody is wanting to be an election judge, they would need to reach out to my office to get the online training. Jolene will be doing election judge training tomorrow and Thursday. So lots going on in our office. Summer reports, summer projects. That's about all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. County Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to report that the new legal assistant in our office, Meg Williams, is really proving to be a great fit and a great addition to our office. We're still an assistant county attorney down. We're doing the best we can in the meantime, not only to handle the prosecution cases, but to be of assistance to the various county departments and the board. Thank you.
Thank you. County Coordinator?
I've also been participating in the budget meetings, busy with that. Last week I met with Diane Rohde and Tony from SciTech. They have received a border-to-border broadband grant, and I wanted to talk to them about it does serve a portion of Todd County. And so they were showing me that and kind of give me the background and future of applying for additional grants for broadband in Todd County. And then last but not least, I received a letter from the Long Prairie Police Chief, Ryan Hansen, and he was asking if the county would be wanting to participate in the Long Prairie National Night Out, which is going to be held August 6th from 5 to 7 at Lake Charlotte Lions Park. And I have specifically invited Sheriff Mike Allen and also our Health and Human Services Director Jackie Ock, but really any of our county departments can be part of it. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. County Commissioners Report. Commissioner Byers, you want to?
I had a pretty quiet time between last meeting and this meeting. We went to Development Corporation meeting, had a productive meeting there, some nice, exciting things coming out of their team. So thank you, Melissa, I see you here. Thank you very much for leading that. And then just regarding National Night Out, I'll be there for sure because I'm part of the Lions and we always provide transportation, so that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Nazca?
Yeah, for me, just a couple meetings, but business as usual, nothing really extraordinary to report.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Denny?
With these previous meetings I had last 2 weeks, we've just been working on our budgets and our financials. We actually had a couple different committees set up just to get a little more focused on them so we can get our budgets kind of narrowed down. Some of them are running a little bit over, so we meet again tonight to get those cleaned up and try to resolve some of those issues. So other than that, just working on financials with my other committees.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Newman?
Yes, Madam Chair, on July 8th, I had personnel. The 10th, I had department head, finance, and park board. On the 11th, I had soil and water, solid waste, Rainbow Rider. And then Monday was finance, and today is the meeting day and finance again, so yippee. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. I had policy and corrections, personnel, department head meeting, finance, soil and water, Rainbow Rider. And with the Rainbow Rider, we're starting to get our buses back in, finally. And so we're putting 4 of them back on sale again on min bid. And then we had finance yesterday, finance again today. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting until August 6th, I believe it is, the date.
So, Madam Chair, can I add one thing
Yes.
to the Rainbow Rider?
Yes.
We had put Rainbow Rider out for bids, and
For their bus garage.
on the bus garage, new one in Alexandria. Somebody forgot to sign a paper. We have to put it out for rebidding.
It's a federal money, and they're going to make us go all the way back to rebid the whole building.
So we got another major setback there, so, but anyways, thank you for that.
Yeah. With that, I'll still ask for a motion to adjourn until the 6th of August.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned. And then we will go into work session. You guys want, at 10 o'clock. We'll take a 4-minute break. How's that? Okay, we'll go ahead and start the work session. And the first on the list is affordable housing aid, state affordable housing aid. And I think I got Jackie, Catherine, Kim.
Yeah, I'm going to come up and then I'm going to ask Kim Wallace and Melissa Lyman to come out with me. Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
So, after about probably 2 or 3
Mike,
weeks
you
ago.
want to switch mics out for her?
What? Okay.
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
switch? Just
Which one is this one?
just switch the mic. Your mic is bad.
I always get this.
Throw that mic away. It keeps getting its way back onto the
there's
table.
all
Well,
of
that's what I always think, I'm talking too loud, so,
There's,
okay.
it's
Think we
more
can't
than
come up with
one.
something better than this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just said that.
So just kind of some background, about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got an email from Verna Tenyon, who is one of our employees, and she was mentioning that there was going to be another disbursement of the state affordable housing aid coming in. And it was gonna total about $99,000, actually $99,971. We had received a first payment of that amount. So altogether, a fund of $199,942. And she was asking at that time about what maybe the county's intentions would be for the funds. And she was working on a project and wondered about the funds. So at that time, I thought, well, I have to, get myself up to speed. And so I reached out to Kim Wallace at HRA and then also to Jackie in Health and Human Services and wanted to get some background. And I found out that there was a conversation maybe back in December that the commissioners were feeling they would probably give or move the funds over to Todd County HRA. I don't know if there was any action specifically on that, but if, now that we have those funds, it would be important that the board would give direction on what we want those funds to be spent on and how we want. Now, I know that Melissa Wyman has applied recently for a grant to do a housing study in Todd County. So I thought it would be great to have her here, to have Kim Wallace. I mean, we've got our experts here so that we can talk about it as a group. So with that, would you have anything to add? Kim, you were probably at the table back in December in that conversation.
I was,
Okay.
I was, and it was just kind of a little informal meeting. All of us, I don't think were there. I don't remember who was all there.
Commissioner Noska?
Yep,
Yeah,
I was there.
Commissioner-
Yeah, we sat here at the table and
Yeah.
kind of chatted about, was it a fund we were gonna put it into?
Yeah,
Savings,
A housing
HRA
tr-
fund?
It was a housing trust fund.
Housing trust fund, that's what it was.
Other counties have put their money towards local housing trust funds that the HRAs do, and so we had kind of talked about that. And then I was going to get more information on it. And then that was also during the time that Chris was retiring. So I think we kind of just it got lost in the shuffle and dropped. And it didn't go any further than that. But other counties have done that, and some cities have also put them into local housing trust funds, and then they go out from that. So I don't know if that's what you want to do or not want to do, or however you want to do it. I am open to anything you want to do. A housing study is super awesome.
Yeah.
We definitely need that.
So I'm wondering, Denise, is the funds setting in an account?
Pull up this, it's on the Department of Revenue.
I cannot, but I have it with me too. Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what I have,
And then
if I may, in December, this meeting was held. I was gone to a different conference, so I sent my chief deputy there. And present was Kim from HRA, Chris Pelzer, Commissioner Noska, and Jolene Sabrowski, chief deputy. What was talked about was setting up these funds when the county gets them. We did receive them. We received $99,971 in December, and that was put into a general fund right now under the HRA department and is currently coded to its own specific program. My concerns is they were going to go out and look, by her notes, she takes excellent notes, Kim was going to reach out to other counties and find out how they're handling it and get back to us and let us know. Our concern is the power remains with the county board's hands at this time and what they wish to do with it. And for my purpose, my concern is how do we transfer this money to HRA, yet I am the custodian of doing all the reporting? So it's like I'm handing the money off for somebody to go use. How do I know where that money is being used unless she's reporting back to me? So it was kind of messy, and I wasn't present for this conversation, and so then it just never went anywhere then once Chris retired. That's my knowledge on it, just to give the update. And so we received the statewide affordable housing, which is an acronym SAHA, and it is out there in statute, and it does say what the counties can use it for. And there's like different, it can be, I don't even know if it says, what does it say in yours, Jackie?
Emergency rental assessment, assistance, financial support for nonprofit affordable housing providers, construction, acquisition, rehabilitation, demolition, or removal of structures, construction financing, almost anything. It kind of falls under it. Yeah, I know I've heard through my NACSA association that many counties are utilizing that trust, and then setting up protocols that ensure that criteria is met as dollars come in for application.
Can I ask, is this just a one-time funding? I mean, we got in 2 different steps. Is there more money coming into this fund?
According to this, we were supposed to receive in 2023, which we did, and then we are expected to receive another $99,971 in funding to arrive in 2 pieces in 2024.
So it's just a one-time
It's just this
funding?
one-time amount of money divided in 2 years that they paid it to
Okay.
us.
And I think, if I may add, Commissioner Becker, that with it being the budget year when these are set, it's gonna be for 2 years as we come upon another budget year to see if there's gonna be a continuation or not.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And when we met for that meeting in December, there were still a whole bunch of questions unanswered about how the SAHA funding could be used and what you could do with it and how it could be used from a housing trust fund as well. And some of those questions now have been answered. And I have another meeting with, we have a director meeting every month with the local HRAs. So I will be at that tomorrow and can ask some more questions if needed.
Madam Chair, the funds from this aid must be spent on a qualifying project by December 31st of the 4th year after the aid was received. So we do have a little bit of time,
Okay.
but we've also had some time pass.
When you
Does
attend
Melissa
that,
wanna?
Melissa, yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the housing assessment grant that you?
So, yes, absolutely. We got through the history, so I didn't want to bring up the new yet. So the Todd County Development Corp applied for 100 and,
Her mic is bad, just wait a second.
is it the tone of our voices?
Maybe it
Send those
is.
things back.
You and I, we have that same problem.
Brand new last year. We need to send them back or get their company here.
We just
Do
have,
something.
Melissa, we just have such big,
Such powerful voices. I know. We just switched. I think it should be better now. So we applied for a grant. It was just submitted on Friday. We had about a week to work on it, so it was a really quick turnaround by the time we learned about the availability of it. So it's through Minnesota Housing. It's for capacity building. So there's a few phases to it. There is conducting a countywide, I should actually elaborate. It is in collaboration with with Wadena County as well, their EDA, to make it a more competitive application. So we joined forces, we both need countywide housing studies, and then also doing individual studies for all of the cities within both counties. And so all 12 of our cities, including all of Osakis, would receive their own housing study, as well as the big picture of what Todd County will look like. We got some quotes, that's about $75,000 of the grant. The total grant that we applied for is $160,600. With that, there's, the TCDC would be doing the admin and reporting on it. So there is some money built in for that admin support. But with that, the capacity building is also doing education sessions with all leadership of all the communities and counties, as well as any real, I mean, not just elected officials, but staff, and then anybody else that kind of has a interest or a role in housing in the communities. And then we would have like a TIF and abatement and other EDA or economic development tools that get used in these developments. Once the housing studies are complete, we would also be bringing in developers to kind of share with all of our leadership again, how these studies are used by a developer and how they can utilize that in their communities to attract development and do projects. So not just getting a study, but also how do you use this study and what does it mean for you? So that's kind of the application as a whole. There's 4 different presentations that were identified for that piece of it. And then in addition, there's money built in to train the HRAs potentially, as well as the EDAs to learn the new Minnesota housing project or programs that are coming out. There is a lot of new programs that were given a lot of money that are really, really going to be beneficial, hopefully. But we don't know what those look like yet, and likely by the time next year comes around, and if we were to get approved, we wouldn't necessarily be able to learn about what those programs are and how to utilize them. So we need some experts in our areas to make sure that we can bring that information back to our cities and our counties and be able to utilize those programs to the fullest ability and bring some of that money to our area. So that is the grant in a nutshell. I guess it's a 2-year period. And so if there is some potential when it comes to this funding, is they could say, yeah, we'll give you a grant, but we're only gonna do this much of it. We may need to fill a gap. In addition, it sounds like, you know, some of these dollars could be utilized to match additional applications. So there's the small cities applications, they're stronger if there's some allocation. So the small cities is a rehab program that communities use. It's a stronger application if you have a match to it in some capacity. The city of Staples was able to utilize old grant funds that were repaid dollars from like commercial and rental properties to match that. But some communities have never had a small cities grant, and so where they would come up with $120,000 or whatever to make that a more a better grant application and more likely to get approved to do some rehab in their communities, this could be something that you could maybe look at utilizing. It also has the same criteria with that 80% AMI or less, so definitely some potential opportunities if you have those funds sitting there. So.
Questions, commissioners?
I guess this whole housing discussion to me is very big and overwhelming, to be quite honest with you. So, I mean, my first thought is we need like a lead, like who's the lead, which department, who's the lead here, who's gonna be who can we as commissioners make accountable to make sure that this money is spent, not duplicated by, you know, 2 or 3 different departments working on this and spending staff dollars doing that. So however that lays out, I mean, the key for me was when we talked about the development was that once we get this study done that Melissa's talking about, now we've got the meat and bones that a developer can come in and say, hey, I'm gonna think about investing in a building or, you know, multiplex, whatever, you know, the case may be. I think that's, I mean, my first blush, that's kind of my, you know, where I think this might want to be going, or how we want to make this, you know, who's accountable, who can lead it. But we got to have somebody lead it and be accountable. So, I mean, if Development Corporation's willing to step up and help out here, I think.
Do you have a problem with the time span that's within this, Melissa, or not?
It is by 2028 or 2027?
4 years.
So
From
we received the
23?
funds in 23,
So it'd be 27.
27.
And then 24 will be 20.
Okay, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
And, you know, and it's gonna be competing, to me, there's gonna be very much competing interest here. Randy's district, my district, Lou's district, your district, everybody's district, where TCDC is looking all over. I mean, we got, you know, we got the Hilltop deal going on, how they wanna do that, we got employment things, it's, to me, we gotta have a central spot that this is all gonna land. It can come back to us every, whatever it is, every month saying, this is where the money goes, and Denise will control the accountability of it.
That was
you
my
know,
next question
that
is,
it's done right.
how do you need to have, or what controls do you need to have working with a department?
Well, I don't have a problem working with the department. I just need
Yeah.
to make sure that lead, like Bob is saying, is taking the lead and then doing accountable reporting back to me. Because to me, I wasn't in the December meeting, but I feel like everything got dropped in December and nothing was followed through. So I don't know what other counties are using these programs. I don't know. And then now, I think you're referring to the LAHA? Is yours the local?
No,
Is it totally different? 'Cause
it's
I have two
totally
different-
different.
They are
This is,
totally different.
They're-
She's
yeah.
talking about the SAHA, but the LAHA is completely different.
Okay, because there's a LAHA too, and then
Yeah.
I have the,
yeah, no, it's the,
so
And I
I
don't know
mean,
if
there's
you
just
can
gotta be accountability of who's gonna take the lead and then report back to me.
it says you can, financial support housing providers in a mission to provide safe, dignified, and affordable. So I sit on the Central Minnesota Housing Partnership Board as well, excuse me. And they are able to utilize in other communities, and not to say that this would be the exact place that Todd County wants to utilize them, but they are able to utilize those funds on their development projects that they're doing in other communities because they serve the same population. And I believe as it comes from Minnesota Housing, that it actually gets kind of that, it gets a county title rather than the Minnesota Housing, even if you're still reporting back, so that state matching Minnesota Housing to Minnesota Housing. But as I understand it, you can use these dollars to put into a Minnesota Housing project as well.
That would be controlled by your division then?
I don't know where the funds are going. Yeah, I mean, if you were to put them with Todd County Development Corp., we could create a program to utilize those these funds, and we would have to do that in a bigger picture. You know, we can set, what is it that you want to use these are the options, and then how would we go about dispersing of those funds? Would we do it by district? Would we do it as an application process? Would we do it for a very specific, you know, this type of project only? Is it a development in itself, or is it a rehab? Or maybe a couple categories that if that community needs X, Y, Z to be able to disperse those funds to them. It could be a, you know, so there's some pieces.
I'm not entirely positive you can use it for that, because when I was speaking to other directors about it, they said that they weren't sure that you could use that as a matching fund for something like that. LAHA, you might be able to, but I don't know about the SAHA. I don't know.
Okay, sure, yeah, I mean, again,
So right now, the funds are sitting under.
The
your
general
contr-
fund.
Under the county control, is that correct, Denise?
That is
They're in
correct, and
account
we've
with the
earmarked
county.
it under HRA's department,
Okay.
and it's just sitting there.
Can they continue to set, would an option be that if this assessment is this grant is, if you're able to get that and able to do the assessment, is the timeline doable to come back where we would then be able to give the board more direction on where the funds best would be served in the county based on this assessment? Do you think,
I would
in your
say-
opinion, or?
I would say, yes, we would find out in February, funds would be available, or the project could start March. And then as soon as that housing study consultant is able to get out there and do that, it is a long project because it is a large county, and a lot of individual reports coming out with that. I believe they would have the countywide study done first, so we would have a better picture of the full county at that point. And of course, you want to make sure it's compliant, so definitely wouldn't want to, you know, do anything that's not compliant. However, that study would be able to give you a direction as far as what is really needed in our county. I think each area is going to be slightly different with the same general picture, if that makes sense. Everybody needs more housing, Everybody needs rehab to their existing housing, everybody needs, but exactly where is it the most intense and who needs it the most, I think would be a really good picture that would be painted out of that.
Okay, Jackie?
Madam Chair, similar to ARPA dollars, it's just gotta be expended by the state set forth, being 4 years from when received. It states that funds will also be considered spent if both of these conditions are met. One, a county or eligible city demonstrates to Minnesota Housing that the city or county cannot expend the funds on a qualifying project by the deadline due to the factors outside of the control of the city or the county. Two, the funds are transferred to a local housing trust fund.
So trust fund is the last option.
Well, it
If we
says
if we can't do anything with the project, then you transfer it in the trust fund and use it
And it's
later.
spent.
Yeah, then it's considered spent. Got it.
Then
we
it's
got-
considered spent and you're only reporting that it was spent.
I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm not doing the work, but I'm just saying, at the end of the day, there was all kinds of things you could spend the money on. You could do it on assistance. So, and those would be like decisions you can make like that. But if we could spend the time, next 6 months or whatever it is, doing the study, understanding, putting the person that's in touch with Long Prairie City Council, Staples City Council, whoever that person is best, and gather this information, I mean, we'll have plenty of time to spend the money. We can drop it on assistance, tear something down, put something up, whatever, so.
Madam Chair, if I may, like we developed these other committees, I feel that there's enough need countywide that my suggestion would be have a small committee of the chair and maybe one of the economic develop members, and then bring other players to the table, have Jackie's division, my division, actually meet and pound this stuff out, because right now we're all bringing little tidbits to the table. We need to talk this out, because we need to make smart decisions, just like that housing here, and we voted down that TIF here, because the comment was made, we'll have to look at the entire county. So we voted a TIF abatement process here in Long Prairie down, because we wanted to look at the entire county. So I think with this kind of money coming in, that's federal money, we need to be looking countywide, we need to play smart, and we need to bring all the players to the table. That's my opinion.
Okay. Other comments? I guess I got a question. The county economic development, it's got its own board. So if the money would go into that situation, the county per se would give up their direction and the other development board would take.
I would imagine that it would be a
over?
joint power situation where they
Am
would
I
have,
reading that right or not?
they would have both decisions to be made, both boards.
Well, in the housing
Well-
trust fund that the other counties do, the board approves the whole the housing trust fund as it's written. I just have Douglas County's draft with me. I didn't draft one up for Todd County or anything at this point. I didn't realize this meeting was gonna be a little bit more informational than I had anticipated, or I would have done my homework a little better than I had prepared for. But with the board would approve of the local housing trust fund and what's allowable, what would be able to be used out of the housing trust fund and what would not be considered an eligible use. And that is what the board approves, is that, and then it goes from there. And then it's out of yours, it's in a local housing trust fund, and then you're
But I
not-
think what Commissioner Becker is saying is, do these 5 board members have a say in it once we release the money to the trust fund? Are we just a pass-through that we get the money, then we hand it off to you and you guys can decide whatever you want to do with it? Or do they have some say in it? Am I correct in saying that?
Well, yes, I'm asking, because economic development has their own board. And once that's passed over, does this board have
I would
any
say,
additional say to it?
and I'm not even advocating necessarily that they come to the Todd County Development Corp. I'm just having input on how these funds could be used.
Right.
Honestly, it does sound like the trust fund is the easiest way. And really, when you set your guidelines, the money can't be used in any other way, whether it was at the Todd County Development Corp or at the HRA. You would be setting those guidelines. You wouldn't necessarily approve every dollar that exited, but if it was going to be dictated how it is going to be spent, it is going to be spent by equal parts in each district, and it's going to be used for these types of eligible projects, and only these types of eligible projects, that is all you could do it for, whether it's at the HRA board or at the Todd County Development Corp board. So I mean, I think you have 100% say on the front end, wherever they ended up. And then, you know, going forward, you have representatives, I believe, at each of those as well. So definitely monitor it as well. So it is, you know, I'm open to hosting something if that is something that the commission would like to see happen, the board. If they go into a trust fund, that actually simplifies your process, I think, quite a bit and takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, as we were saying over here. So, I mean, it is, you know, I'm not necessarily advocating for anything specific. I'm just wanting to see, I do like the idea of having some input, especially after the housing study is complete, on how those dollars get used, because that'll be the most informative process. And if we do not get the grant, that housing study will not get done, but I believe you could use these for that, couldn't you? Or is that gonna not work with the 80% AMI?
I'm not sure. I didn't look into a housing.
Okay.
Right.
I guess then I would have to ask the board, as a board, do you want us to do a small group? Or do you want these to come back at a work session?
I do a smaller group, because if we're gonna spend here for hours, I think if we don't get some really like, here's the where we're cemented at. That's my opinion. But this will go on forever.
I would say a small group, because I've been asking down at AMC for the last 10 years for somebody to explain what affordable housing is. Okay? What is affordable housing? And nobody can answer that, because if you put up a $60 million apartment complex, somebody's got to pay for it. Unless it's state subsidized, well, then that's communism.
So
It'd be nice if the small group could bring back, hey, here's a recommendation, here's our thoughts on who could spearhead this, and then, you know, here's our thoughts on how the money is controlled, whether it stays with the county or some board or whatever.
And explain
I mean, because we're
affordable
gonna,
housing.
just like the review thing, it's gonna be 5 people, you know, we need to have a little more focus, more rifle, less shotgun.
Okay, so who do you want to be on that committee?
I kind of like Denise's idea, chair and one of the development corp guys in Todd County.
I can help out.
Okay. Commissioner
Todd County
Byers,
Development,
Melissa,
Jackie Ock.
Jackie, are you okay? Kim?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Jackie B., you want to be part of this?
Yes, I would be willing to do that.
Who? Oh, Denise's?
So for now, the funds are parked, and
Denise?
you said Commissioner Byers,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Right now, the funds are parked in the HRA fund, and we can allow them then to just be parked there for now.
Yep.
With
They can be moved
Denise
at
and
any
Kim's
time.
oversight, okay. And at this point, we'll just set on those until the committee meets and can determine the direction. And also, we'll find out when the grant comes through, if you get the assessment or the housing assessment, which will be wonderful. And that can help the committee make a decision as well about the funds.
So Jackie, going forward, you will set up a meeting between
can-
this committee then?
I could do that, sure.
Okay,
I can
so
pull
we'll
together the
wait till
people that
we-
we've identified to meet.
Hear from Jackie then?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys all for
Thank
coming.
you, yes.
Yes, thank you, because we want to spend these dollars smart. You know, Todd County needs the housing, and we want to make sure that we get the best bang for our buck, that's for sure.
Definitely. It's a definitely big
Yeah.
needed issue in the county, something important to work on.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Melissa. I'll get us together.
All right. Next discussion, request to hire a social worker with source will impact funding. So in April, we applied for a grant with, well, funding, I wouldn't even say grant, grant is not right, funding, as a region, and plus, Cass, Crowing, Morrison, Todd, Wadena, and Aitken being the plus, through our adult mental health initiative, for $500,000 that was granted or awarded by Sourcewell for counties to utilize
these dollars, for the needs of each individual county, fairly flexible, but really to help with, mental health, within, human services, service lines and, jails. So, or county, sheriff's office. So Kim, I'll kind of let you take it over from here because you actually wrote the impact funding, which was, you did a good job on, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. So what we would like to use this money for is to expand our TITA program. We would like to break it into a co-response social worker, which we currently have located in the sheriff's office. And part of that position already is diversion, working with the county attorney's office with people with mental health issues that have low-lying offenses, to get them the services they need. So we'd like to split that into co-response, which would continue to stay at the sheriff's office, and then have our TITA diversion worker who's located in Health and Human Services that can work closely with the county attorney's office to work with those individuals more in a case management piece where they can help them, you know, get their mental health services if they have other needs such as housing, employment, that they can work closer with them to hopefully get the services they need so they don't have to become criminal justice involved. The whole goal of both of these programs is to kind of that prevention piece that we've talked about with other positions is to help people get the services and the help they need before they have law enforcement contact, or to reduce law enforcement contact, reduce their contact with the county attorney's office, and just kind of try to prevent those hospitalizations too. Yeah, so what we'd like to do is to have those two different positions. Funding-wise, for the first year, we do have that Sourcewell impact funding, and then the ongoing would be funding through our adult mental health initiative. So there'd be no county levy dollars for this position.
And just to be clear, it'd be one position split into two different, functions.
Yep.
So one position.
Okay. If I could, Sheriff Mike, do you want to come up? Do you have any comments? I think because this is going to be put into your department.
No, actually, it won't be in his position because we already have the position in the sheriff's
Okay.
office, so nothing would change for his area
Okay, so this would be housed
in Health and Human Services.
in Health and Human
Right, the
Services.
difference would be, Madam Chair, is the existing TITA worker is doing the diversion program and the co-response. That position would be simply co-response, and the diversion would go to the Health and Human Services Department in their facility.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Both positions are under Health and Human Services, but have a chair in the
Right.
sheriff's office.
Correct.
Okay.
This position has developed in different ways because it was a pretty fluid position when it started. So we found that the co-response is much more active than the diversion portion. And so we would keep that position housed in our office. And this new position would be the diversion portion that would be, work closely with the county attorney's office and not so much with our office.
So co-response. Kim, you want to share with our commissioners what co-response looks like?
Yes, so our current TITA worker, she goes out with law enforcement if they get a call that is mental health related. And it's not just with the sheriff's office, the Long Prairie Police Department and Staples Police Department also call her in to do those calls as well. If she's not available for that, she can go out to their home afterwards. They tag her in those calls. A lot of it is having mobile crisis come out and help them to get to the ER to get to a hospitalization. Sometimes it's simply their medications aren't right, so they just need that person to help them to access either a doctor or psychiatrist and possibly other services. So there's a lot of different variables. It could be that they are being evicted from their housing, so they're having a lot of anxiety and they need someone just to help them through that process. So it's been a pretty exciting process. We weren't sure, like Sheriff Allen had said, how this position would develop, and we've really seen that great need in co-response, but we also still have that diversion need because she is so busy with the co-response. Unfortunately, the diversion piece has taken a backseat, and we know that they have referrals waiting of people that would like to be in this program.
Okay, and I don't know, County Attorney John, any comments on this or?
Not at this point.
position
Kim's done a fine job, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners? With that, I think everybody's is very positive, so we'll be bringing it to the board at the next meeting?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, thank you. Actually, I'm gonna step away and let the opioid team.
All right, I do have a handout.
Quite a name, huh?
I do have some outlines and bar graphs if you guys would like copies of that, so you can see what I'm going through. I made 10 copies.
Got it. You're good.
Do you want one too, Chris?
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Share copies.
Yeah, thank you much.
Yes, you are. I'm just smiling. Catherine's have to stick together.
Jackie, in the future, if the team wants to submit this stuff to work session, if they could have it to us before,
Okay,
so we could bring it up, would be helpful.
And I did continue to update it yesterday, so.
That's okay, even if you send it to us in the morning. we can-
Right, Denise knows, we keep getting more and more information, so thank you for having us. So we want to give a quick update on our opioid settlement. As many of you are aware, we've been receiving these dollars since 2022. It's expected we'll receive about 1.5 million by 2038. It does continue to change as we've seen the settlement increase and more distributors, manufacturers be included in the settlement. So initially it was distributors, manufacturers, and now we're seeing retail. Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, which all is giving us funding this month, has been included. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of our progress to date, and then I would appreciate if our advisory team, we have some ideas on ways to spend these dollars, but we really want to just have a good discussion today about best use of these dollars, just like we had with the housing discussion. I think we just started getting these funds. We have a long time to spend them, but we want to make sure we're doing a good job of using them on needs currently, and then also planning for the future. So if you look at the quick update I provided, funds received to date is $265,891. We just received an email yesterday. We'll be getting an additional $139,000 in July paid out, and that's through Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS payments. Again, these payments are going to vary over the next 18 years. Some of the payments are coming in lump sums from distributors, manufacturers who want to be done with it. Some are spreading it out. So it is going to every year vary. And we've seen that amount only increase over time. So initially we were going to get about $1 million over the 18-year settlement. Now we're at about 1.5. And you'll see that total funds projected is 1.5. Our current fund balance as of today, so this does not include what we're anticipating because the Auditor Treasurer's Office hasn't received these payments yet, correct, Denise? As of, yep, so we assume we'll get them shortly. So our current fund balance is $212,602. So the advisory committee, which includes, should we do introductions quickly? Kathy, go ahead.
Oh,
thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Kathy Langer, Director at Corrections.
My name is Candace Aiello-Gores. I'm a treatment center owner here in town at Better Days Treatment Center.
My name is Chris Brigman. I'm an assistant county attorney here at Todd County.
And Commissioner Byers is on the committee as well. Our next meeting is tomorrow. We do meet monthly. It's a nice collaboration of lots of different people working in treatment and prevention. And I think we've had some really good discussion over the past year and a half. We began meeting in January of '23, did a survey, have really kind of talked about what are the needs in our community ongoing. But I think we're at the point now where we really want to have some further guidance from the board about use of these funds. So in the past year and a half, we've funded the following projects. I won't read them off to you, but you can see them right there in the table. So again, we've approved, the way it's worked is that we have a very brief funding request form that's filled out. It then comes to our advisory committee. We review it, we vote on it. If it's voted for approval, we then bring it to board. And then if it's approved by board, we then reimburse the amount that's been approved. So you'll see we've reimbursed projects like Wellness in the Woods, the DARE program for Long Prairie PD. We've allocated $15,000 for lodging and transportation through the TITA program and the Sheriff's Office. That is actually being managed by money management right now. So the full amount hasn't been spent, but it's been taken off our books. So it's been put into a different fund. So we've done a couple different projects, and we're going to talk about some of those successes. But I think as these funds continue to increase, we need to have a plan in place as to how we're going to spend them down effectively. So I'm going to turn and let Candace talk a little bit about how she's used these funds. I think Candace gives a really good example of how we can currently utilize these funds for people in need right now. And then we'll talk a little more about that.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this, and I did, I made a bar graph for the first time in many years, but it was pretty fun, actually. Is the mic staticky? Okay. Thanks.
What's that? Oh, yeah, we should, Jack, maybe you want to talk to Lisa and see if she can figure out something with that company and those mics, because we've been having issues.
They're terrible.
Yeah, I know, and we paid a lot of money for them. Exactly, so maybe there's updated technology or something they can do, or different ones we need to get.
Thank you.
You can't be passing them back and forth all the time, guessing which one works and which one doesn't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at Better Days Treatment Center, I opened here in Long Prairie in January of 2023. So I'm a pretty new program. I've been providing service in the drug and alcohol treatment field for 13 years. And after years of experience, I thought I'm gonna take a risk and try to open my own program and see how it goes. I was on the opiate settlement task force team, is what they called it, in Douglas County prior to me moving to Long Prairie here. So I knew that the opiate settlement money was available to those in communities in Minnesota. And my goal, I requested $5,000 to spend over a span of 6 months. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what kind of barriers were gonna, come to head. And so I want to explain my services a little bit so you guys can understand the full impact that it's had. I'm a non-traditional treatment program in that I'm in private practice. So I'm a little different than a traditional outpatient drug and alcohol treatment program. I can provide in-service care, transportation, very individualized treatment programming. I do individual services, group services, and then the chemical use assessments that are often required by courts for people that get DWIs or other alcohol or drug-related charges. And in all areas of service that I provide, there have been various barriers that have come up for people. And one thing I want to say before any dollars are spent, one thing that the committee that I'm a part of, what we discussed is any money that is spent would need to be, first, I would have to exhaust all other possible resources. And people from Health and Human Services have been so helpful in getting me connected to resources that I didn't even know existed. So the money that you see spent on this graph and on the sheet of paper you have that doesn't have the graph on it, you'll see down to the penny where the dollars were spent. And I wanted to just go through some of the information on the bar graph with you, though. Some of the facts there, and one thing I didn't include was about transportation. It was not a surprise to me that transportation was the most spent because in rural Minnesota, we run into so many transportation issues. Luckily, people that have a prepaid medical insurance plan through the county, their insurance will pay for transportation. So that's always a really great resource that I can help people use. In this case, there's one individual I wanted to mention that I was able to provide very individualized services to. She has a paranoid personality disorder. So getting into a cab with a stranger, especially an adult male, was very anxiety provoking to her. And she was not going to continue services because she didn't want to take that transportation. So I was able to provide gas cards, and which is what I've done for anybody that needed transportation assistance. I provide them with a Casey's gas card and encourage them to fill their tank in either Long Prairie or Browerville, so those dollars can stay right in Todd County. And there's been other transportations too, where, you know, somebody finds somebody that can give them transportation, and then they can give that person the gas card for the transportation. Total, there have been 16 people that applied for the assistance, I call it the barriers assistance for treatment. And like I said, it really supported individualized treatment planning. Some of the other specifics were there were 2 individuals that at the time that they presented to me wanting help for opiate use disorder, they were addicted to fentanyl. There's a medication that's been around for about 10 years now that helps with opiate cravings. The medication itself is really expensive if somebody doesn't have insurance. There's 2 forms of it. There's an oral pill or an injection. The injection is well over $1,000, so not an option for people that don't have insurance. But for those individuals that apply for county funding, what used to be called Rule 25, they don't have medical coverage. So in the brief amount of time that I had contact with them, I was able to help them get connected to that anti-craving medication. And now since then, they have medical insurance and are continuing in services, but it was able to help them right then and there. And I think it probably made a drastic difference in those 2 individuals' lives. So, and that would not have been possible if it were not for this funding. So if they were here today, I'm sure they would be shaking your hand and thanking you so much. Let's see. One thing that I've done to just accommodate for the community is if somebody contacts me that doesn't have medical insurance, or they have a commercial insurance that will not pay for my services to them, I let them know that they can join my group services for free, because I'm gonna be there whether they're there or not. And then I just charge for individual treatment services, because it would then take away from my other clients. So there was one individual who was Spanish speaking only, addicted to fentanyl, not able to join group services. And I was able to provide individual services to him. I charged 50% of the cost because he could not afford services. He applied for the opiate settlement funds and was able to access individual treatment, and today is 2 months sober. I'll be meeting with him after. And he would not have otherwise had access to the service. I mean, he wouldn't have, because of language barrier and because of income issues. So that was a really big win. There's 2 more things. There is a business here in town called Vita, which is an interpreting service, and it's growing. It's employing a lot of individuals from this community that are bilingual. I use that service for when I need an interpreter. I'm nearly fluent in Mexican Spanish, but when I meet with somebody that speaks like Dominican or Puerto Rican or Cuban Spanish, I need an interpreter to understand what they're saying, because it's a different dialect. But I'm gaining fluency as time goes on. There's been a couple individuals that completed assessments with me and were able to access treatment services elsewhere in Minnesota, residential treatment programs that were Spanish-speaking individuals. One really big win is I still am working with a lady who was at risk of losing her housing because she had lost her employment and wasn't able to pay her rent for a month and a half and was looking at eviction. Based on all of the different resources I explored, she I couldn't find anything. So the opiate settlement money was able to pay for her rent for 1.5 months of time. And she was able to avoid homelessness with her 3 children and a possible child protection involvement. And it was very preventative and a huge win for her and her family. So I do want to also mention Wellness in the Woods, who requested and was approved funds from the opiate settlement money. If you guys ever have time to jump online and Google Wellness in the Woods, Gray Eagle, Minnesota, you will see they offer 100% free services virtually. They've got this beautiful calendar that anybody can click on. They have Spanish speaking sessions for individuals. They do tons and tons of different things, and they're really impacting the community. And I make sure all of my clients are aware of the services they offer because, wow, what a resource that is. So, and I don't know if you guys have any specific questions, but I would be happy to try to answer any that you have, so.
I guess my well, like I said, I'm on the committee with some of these team members and I've been in the facility, but it is, you know, the thing for me is like a lot of these programs, I'm looking for this big bang, like, you know, hey, look at what we did, you know, splash it all over the place. But in looking at these numbers and having discussions, it's these ones and twos that really add up, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, look at the different departments that were able to be, you know, we didn't have the child protection service stuff. We didn't have someone homeless. We didn't have someone living on the streets. And I mean, I often lose sight of that. It can't always be a big bang. It's going to have to be singles and doubles and triples to get us to get the county where we need to be, you know, in this war against drug use and things like that. So just my observation, and I'm thankful to be part of the team, and they're doing a good job, really good job.
I guess I have a question. District 1, we're northern Todd County. So my question to the committee would be, you're working throughout the whole county and not just in one area? I mean, do you have people from the northern part of the county on this committee, or how is it laid out?
Yep, we have representation from Lakewood and countywide, right? So we've also connected with Dr. Kroll, who was very interested in his wife on working on this committee. So yeah, I mean, that's something we want to continue to do, though, is make sure people are aware of these funds. And I think that's really why, a big reason why we're here today, and Chris and I will talk a bit about that, is I do think that we need to do a better job of making sure that everyone's aware of these funds and how they can impact the county, right? But yes, we do have representation from Staples area.
Yeah, and I compliment you. I mean, it sounds like you got a fantastic program started. I only wish that we could grow throughout the whole county with your look on it, and saving one person is huge. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
No, just thank you for the work. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these things are such thankless jobs, and you know, you make them out of it with a, you know, a whole different outlook because of it. So hopefully, you know, you realize that it's all, you guys all realize it's appreciated.
Absolutely.
So a few more things.
No.
Well, we have
continue
you.
on.
2 other successes, and I just want to talk about this because Kathy and I had been working on this for a while, and it took a while, is our naloxone standing order and protocol now for the county. So there is a Good Samaritan law, right, that you can administer naloxone just like you can do CPR, first aid to someone. But we had over 30 staff trained by Tom Kruger from Astera last year in overdose prevention, right, and how to administer naloxone. We then were able to pass a protocol through the board and a standing order with Dr. Harsha, our medical director, signing it, so that we now have Narcan available. It's a nasal spray, right, that we were able to purchase at a discounted rate because we're a county government. So now we have staff who are carrying Narcan on them. We've always had it with the sheriff's office, as you're well aware, and first responders, but I think it's important for a lot of our frontline staff, you know, probation officers, social workers who often see these people, that we're making sure that they're available to administer Narcan. If you didn't know, they're now encouraging you to deliver Narcan before an AED is given if you find someone passed out. So it's just that common, right, that you're starting to see that. And again, if you give Narcan or naloxone to someone and they're not overdosing, you're not going to harm them. I just want everyone to know that too. So the one thing we talked about at our last meeting, and I want to touch on it, and Chris has been a really great asset to our committee and joined, is this idea, many of the other counties have done a community RFP, request for proposals, right? So part of these funds, we can do community grants or community contracts, right? And I think that that is a way to make sure that we're reaching further out. As you guys are well aware, we had Long Prairie post-prom come here. You know, we want to make sure that everyone's aware these funds are available. I think we're pretty good on the treatment side right now. We feel like between, you know, Todd County, we can focus on that. But as far as prevention and how are we looking at the next 18 years and making sure we're preventing another generation of using opioids, substance use, mental health conditions, because as we all know, they all co-occur. We were looking at a community RFP process. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, go ahead and do that. So just briefly, the idea would be, how do you continue having this out there without also gumming up your process? So what other counties have done, other areas, is just kind of do it on an annual basis. And because we don't have the money just sitting out there all the time, it's coming in chunks. We'd work with the board to kind of identify how much money on annually we would kind of leave open to it, and then have an RFP process that we would announce. You know, you'd have several months to make it, and then we'd go through that process and disperse it, so that each year, if we have more money one year and we're ready for it, or if we're thinking maybe we don't want to have as much on it for that year because we're running thin for something, then we can just make that available. Then that does two things. One, like I said, it doesn't gum up the process of having them come individually throughout the year here, and allows you to compare the different projects that are applying for the same amount of money. So you can kind of apply what kind of impact is this going to have annually, what needs are we seeing, and how are they developing, and how can we address them on an annual basis. And it doesn't let you get so far ahead of yourself that, you know, people are coming to rely on this money or something, or that you're overcommitting money that you maybe aren't going to have in the future. Additionally, like I said, we get it in chunks. It helps the community partners as well, because then they know it's coming. You know, we all plan on an annual basis of budgets anyways, so do these programs. So if they're going to be getting money from other places, well, that may be something that we want to have them include in their application, and it's something that we can take into account. You know, knowing that they're not just relying on us for funding, but maybe they're getting other community partners for a bigger project, or maybe if they are relying on us, but it's a specific, unique need that can only be addressed in a certain way here. So it gives you a lot of flexibility if you do it that way, and it gives us some certainty that, one, we will be getting more applications, so you will have new ideas for this stuff, and you won't feel like if you say no to one thing that you're saying no to everything. It's, hey, what can we do now? Because as a community, we also looked at, well, we do need to spend this money to do prevention in the future. It's nice to have it, but we also need to disperse it for its intended effect. And then also to make it a part of their requirements when they make these applications, that they're going to need to provide a report and presentation to us. The accountability stuff that Denise talked about earlier and other things, it's important for us to not create extra administrative paperwork for ourselves as part of this process, and to have them buy in that this isn't just free money that's being handed out, that they are truly community partners that are working with our board for a shared common goal. So just like we have someone come here today and provide information on the impact they have, it really helps us to be able to turn around and say, here's the metrics for what we're doing, and here's why it matters. So that's basically it. It's kind of what we're looking at potentially shifting to, and the idea being that we want to get these ideas out of here, or get these ideas from the community, because it's not just the board that just comes up with them willy-nilly. And it's not just going to be us that's doing the legwork to implement these programs in the community on a yearly basis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also serve on the Wadena County Opioid Settlement Committee, and one of the things that we did was to host a community session at a work session with the board, and invited as many members of the community, nonprofits, hospitals, cities, 4-H, you know, things like that, anybody that we could think of, and just went through what you just heard from the committee members, explaining what the funds could be used for. And then we put together an RFP that is actually on the county website, and it's available for anybody in the anybody to fill out. And it's got some background regarding how the funds can be used. It's got a list of examples of uses. It's not like exclusive, but that might be something too. I will say, though, that even though we had a lot of community members at that meeting, we haven't seen a lot of community requests yet in Wadena County. So I think it's something that, like Chris talked about, you know, we might need to do that again on an annual basis. Thank you.
I guess I have one more thing I wanted to share. You know, the teams that we're all, the committees that we're on and everything, I really think this committee has done an amazing job. Leadership, Catherine, I mean, you drive it really well. You're firm, but you're open. And Chris has brought an insight that is very, very needed. So, you know, from a teamwork standpoint, you guys are just, you're hitting all cylinders, doing a really good job. So I hope that continues, and I hope other areas see the teamwork, the commitment. It's very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Byers. I think it's nice when you have 18 years, let's be honest. You don't feel as much pressure as when we get a grant for a year or two, right? And you feel like you got to go, go, go. So I think this committee's been really solid. I think Candace and Chris and Kathy and the rest of the committee's been really engaged. I think what we're always coming up against is this issue of individual needs versus community needs, right? And Candace spoke of it, and Commissioner Byers, housing and transportation are two issues, regardless if you have a opioid use disorder or if you are facing poverty or if you're facing any other life challenges, right? So this idea that we always are gonna have needs, individual needs. And so I think balancing that with this committee is a really good way of looking at countywide, kind of how we do that as well, because it can be really challenging as an agency, just like with housing and transportation, to address individual and community-wide and how we move forward with that. So I think this has been a really good project for that. If you remember the tobacco settlement, we didn't get those dollars. They stayed at the state. 75% of the opioid settlement are coming to local counties and cities. And so I think that that's really positive. You know, we spoke at our last meeting. We are meeting tomorrow, so I would love just a little bit of guidance. I think we continue this sort of process, this internal funding request, right? I know Kathy and some of our other, we have a lot of internal work as well at the county that's already happening, right? That can utilize these funds. But I really do like this idea of a community RFP. We set aside $100,000 annually to say, or whatever our budget allows at that time, to say we really want to support community-wide efforts, right? And then we make sure that we promote it, and we make sure that we speak to the schools. And I've spoken with them, but I think there's a little bit of hand-holding that goes with that, with helping people through an RFP process and making sure that they're aware of what could be funded. Because I agree with Chris, like, I think we need to compare a little bit more of like, what are the projects that are out there and what can we move forward? And maybe it is annual funding for a couple years to get people going towards sustainability. So I would like to hear from the board where they want us to go with this, because as of now, the committee approves a project, we bring it to the board, and it kind of cycles like that. But a community RFP would be a little bit of a different process.
Okay, commissioners?
Yes, I think what we would need from the board is sort of an amount, and we could bring that to, again, we have a process, and like Kathy said, many other counties have done this, so we can create an RFP simply, right? We would set a timeline, probably 2 to 3 months, a review timeline, and then any of those approved projects would come to board for approval. But I think what we need to do is probably set an amount so that when we are looking at, you know, all the applicants, I don't know if you heard Morrison County, they had over $700,000 requested from their RFP process. Well, then you have to make decisions of who you're gonna fund and how much. So I do think knowing what we have in our account right now, which is, it'll be as of the end of July, you know, about 350,000 that we'll currently have in our account, if you add the 212 to 139. Mm-hmm. So thinking about that amount, you know, how do we designate those funds for a community process versus our ongoing, you know, funding request?
I guess this is kind of the first, and you're really updating us a lot. Are other counties, is that the direction they're going then? Yep. You said Morrison County you referred to.
Absolutely. They're setting a certain amount that they're awarding. They're doing a timeline. So again, some are doing a rotating process, but I think that we've learned that that's really challenging as a way to really ensure that everyone's aware of it. I think having a timeline ensures a little more urgency, right? And a little more of making sure that community members are aware as well. I think we can definitely bring this to a board or maybe another work session with some more clearer guidelines, if that would be an interest to you.
I think another work session would be good, to tell you the truth, and because this is the first, a lot of us are hearing anything that's going on. And it'd be good to compare it with the different counties, surrounding counties, how it's working for them, if it's positive. My other question is, if the board, you bring it to the board and we approve this, we'd have to approve a dollar amount and a time frame on it?
Yep, that is a requirement of unless you approve a budget. So you can either approve a budget or expenditures, right? That's the way it's written in the MOA. So either you approve a budgeted amount to be used for a certain cause, or you approve a expenditure. So just like you guys have been approving, a certain amount to go towards a certain activity.
Okay.
I mean, the number, I guess the number of projects that we're seeing right now is, to me, somewhat smaller, limited. So, and there's, say $350,000, I'm not proposing a number, I'm just talking out loud here. Even if you had a $10,000 grant, that's $335. That's 35 projects. I don't see us getting 35 projects in the next, just to something to discuss, and maybe how that dollar amount looks, or maybe that's even too small a number, I don't know.
And the other thing, if we bring it to another work session, we just slow the process up also. And do we want to slow this process up, or do we want to continue to move?
I think we want to do it right. We have 18 years. So I think, our reporting falls on March 31st. So it's fiscal year, right? So we just reported in March for 23. We report, so it is on a, calendar year reporting. So I do want to align it with that, because it's, like Denise knows, it's easier on us. And
Right.
So I think we could take our time. I think we do just want to make sure, just like Kathy has said, that everyone is aware of these funds and how we move forward with them. So I'm fine with taking a little bit of time, but I agree with Commissioner Byers. I feel like we haven't funded enough yet. We've got a lot of opportunities to have a lot of impact now, and I'd like to see us, find ways to do that.
What's the impactfulness of it? What's the frequency of it? And what's the dollar amount? Some of those are the three things that come to mind immediately. And then, of course, like you said, representation. How do we, somewhat.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think this falls a lot like we did ARPA, and I think you'll follow it the same way with this request form. And I think they would be able to follow along if you showed them how that process is gonna go, just like our ARPA funds. We came with the request forms, we itemized, we budgeted, you guys voted on what should go, what shouldn't, and then there's always that tallying, and the auditor in me is being accountable. So I like that idea, but I think you just need to bring it forth so they understand.
Sure.
Like we did the ARPA thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Matt, if I may?
Yes.
I think we could come up with a pretty simple proposal and get it to you guys ahead of time for the next work session, so that you'd have something to review and kind of work off of. And then you can look at, all right, well, here's some different options for how to do some of those factors. That would be, I think, setting this up logistically the right way with the three processes of notifying people, having the application and approval, and then implementation. I think that if we get that set up we have time to do that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, I really appreciate this. This is really a good presentation. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, that's all the work that's done behind the door, so you're not even aware of if you're not sitting on that committee.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, Mike.
Catherine,
Morning, Mike.
she leads stuff, she's.
And you appreciate
Another
your
one.
employees.
Thank you.
I do not. Just to kind of.
Thank you.
Update?
Okay.
Cute.
Now, this is really interesting, their presentation.
But who cares? They're falling down in your yard right now.
Yeah, plenty around here.
So the forms you have in front of you is just part of our spreadsheet. We developed it for the cost savings or the cost tabulation of the grant system. As we move forward, as you know,
there was a significant amount of work accomplished, so these bills are starting to get fairly substantial. We just submitted our pay request number 4 to the MPCA in the amount of $578,640. So this is kind of the first time where you're seeing this form, and we'll continue to present this all the time. Just because of now that we're into the meat and potatoes of the project, you're gonna start seeing a lot of cost into these payments. So that first, it kind of gives you a breakdown of the total grant on line B is the $4 million that we received on the CAP grant part. And the total eligible costs on line 1 towards the bottom is what is incurred to date. And then line 2 is the state's 75% share. The significant number we're looking at is number 5. We're at 24% of that budget that we have spent so far currently on that project. So just to kind of give you a really quick, brief idea where we're at. The second page is kind of our contingency amounts, just to get you guys an idea where we're at, where we started the project with the original contingencies of $577,197. We spent roughly almost $200,000 of that. I don't know if that's completely accurate or not because we submitted the grapple attachment last spring into that and they declined that to be used in there. So I believe that $70,000 is actually we paid through our solid waste fund, so we got to dig into that a little bit. MPCA said that wasn't an eligible cost. But as you can see, the design for the Bolton and Mink water main project, and then the board action forms that you guys reviewed was the structural testing that we need to do for Braun. That wasn't part of the project cost, and the utility relocate. So to just kind of give you an idea, so we're at 35% of the total contingency spent on that. So just a real quick update on where we're at on that as far as the financial side of things. We do have a quick picture out. I know the 2 commissioners that were at our committee meeting last week just shows you the water mains all in. We have hydrants installed. This morning I did actually get a signed copy of the engineering design for the gas line to be removed to the north side of the property. So that is signed and finally installed. 3 months we've been waiting for that. So we finally got an answer back from the MPCA and that design is completed. So that will be taking place. Rebar is expected to be on the ground on Thursday. So they are coming back to start actually digging footings. So we should see cement next week, hopefully. So that kind of gives you just a real quick update on the facility itself. So not a lot happening the last couple weeks. We've been just kind of waiting on rebar and then waiting on that signed gas design relocation form. So comments, questions?
You feel the project's actually going timely then?
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
the
they're
most part,
not
I
really-
think, you know, we're probably a week behind just waiting on that we would have liked to had the gas line moved already, but waiting on that design, we couldn't really do anything until the state responded with that. And of course, the water, you know, as wet as it's been, we probably lost a week. But otherwise, everything seems to be on schedule. The west facility, the hydro seeding was completed 2 weeks ago, and that's really starting to grow in and really being established really well. I was out at the landfill last week, just to give you a real quick update on that. We plan on closing that and releasing that last % of retainage that was on there. That has really grown in really nice. That's coming well. And then, Madam Chair, also, just a quick update for you is I met with the City Council of Bertram on July 2nd at their seating meeting at 7 p.m. on the July 2nd and reviewed the remote bin site that you applied. We got that grant money for, so we are in the design phase of where we want to put it. So they want to go ahead and proceed with that. So I'm working on that details as well. Also just had a brief conversation with the committee members as well, so they're aware of that, but I want to make sure that you understood that where we're at on that. We did have some results with City of Bertha. We have redesigned the way we are accessing those remote bin sites for the customers to use, just to reduce our contamination rates. That's worked out really well. And I've met with Bertha also, and they are, this is some of the information I got from John Lindeman also, and the Sheriff's Department as far as putting up remote cameras. So if we do have, you know, issues with stuff, we can actually prosecute because we're actually, so Bertha has actually installed remote sites, cameras on their remote bin site location. So,
okay.
But just kind of give you a heads up where we're at on that. So soon I'll be setting up a meeting and give you some more information once I reach back from Bertram on where they want to have it. So,
Okay, oh, that sounds really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And that's at Region 5
yes, ma'am.
grant.
Yeah, that is correct. So,
Okay, commissioners, questions?
No questions.
Thank you for the update.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep,
Appreciate this, so.
you bet.
Okay. I think you're up next. Number 5 was taken off.
5.
5,
Yeah, Adam, that was you, you're all.
All right.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll go either way. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so previous work session, we had a couple more people for me to reach out to continue this discussion. So I have those here. And the stuff I just got this morning is, I think, gonna be a little more helpful than maybe what we've heard in the past. So I'll just work through this. Commissioner Byers had asked me to reach out to Marshall Ward, who is a Winona County Commissioner. So I got in touch with her and talked about what Winona County is facing and some of the considerations that they've, put into changes in light of this one particular feedlot application. Nothing that Winona County has looked at so far really relates to what Todd County is currently working or looking at changing. Winona County's, their whole, the issue that they had is they have an animal unit cap of 1,500 animal units, and this feedlot that came in with the application had already exceeded that standard. And so that's where their focus is now is, do we need to increase or what the corrective action is to this animal unit cap that exists there now? They have not looked at any of, redrawing their CUP process or any of the permitting requirements or anything like that. But Marcia did give me Eric Johnson's contact information, who's staff there in Winona County. So I spoke with him for a little while also. And he restated that the main issue with that particular situation was with the animal unit cap, but also more nitrate issues, being that they're in the karst area there in southeast Minnesota. They did not have any sort of groundwater issues or anything like that that were hangups for them. But they haven't had any conversations about changing processes or permit requirements or anything like that. They're looking at resolution to this animal unit cap issue. That was the whole issue with the one application that they had. So that's what I got from Winona County. I did get an email back from Jason Kabushek when I had talked with him about what we were looking at doing, and I can just read the email to you here. It says, you had asked me to weigh in on requiring CUP applicants to obtain all required permits before applying for CUP, as opposed to placing them as conditions on the CUP, which requires all permits to be obtained before the CUP can be acted upon. For most applicants, it is not practical to seek all other permits before applying for a CUP. Moreover, if all of the permits are issued, then it would be more difficult for the county to deny a CUP. My preferred practice is to add the conditional, I think he's got to type. My preferred practice is to add the condition that all other permits be obtained prior to applicants acting upon a CUP. I would also indicate the CUP cannot be recorded until the conditions have been met. This would prohibit an applicant from just moving forward with a partially approved project. That's Jason's comments. And then I originally had reached out to Ben Olson, who is the P&Z director. He's contracted to do it in Traverse County, but he had mentioned there was another county when they were looking at making these changes that he thought he had worked with or got information from. Reach out to him, it took a while, but just this morning I finally got a response from him that was somewhat helpful. So the county that he looked at was Swift County. They actually have some language already in their ordinance. So that was, I think it kind of gave me a little more of an idea or direction of what we could do with it here. Do you want me to just read this email too? Sure. Okay, it sounds like most places that I know of don't really have that language in their ordinances directly, but some do, and have a policy that they want state permits in hand on a somewhat case-by-case basis. The closest I know of is Swift County that has some language in their feedlot ordinance that requires state water appropriations permits, and then he just copied some sections here. I won't read the first part. The second part is what we care about of this section. It says, if land or conditional use permits are required, permits shall be issued by the county and shall be conditional upon complying with the terms and conditions of the permit issued by the county. and/or by the MPCA for the operation of feedlots. No land use permit shall be issued without waste utilization plans or an approved DNR water appropriations permit if required. So that's the language from Swift County's ordinance. And the director in Swift is Scott Collins, but Ben had talked to Scott and said that they have interpreted this to mean that they require their water appropriations permits from the DNR before they can apply for the CUP, as I understood from him. And he just said kind of what I think we would look at is that if they were to adopt that language, that no conditional use or interim use permits shall be issued without an approved DNR water appropriations permit if required. Which that was kind of what sparked the idea in my mind, and rather than putting this potentially in a feedlot section or anything like that, it could go in the CUP section, and we can kind of spell out, like, for example, the DNR waters withdrawal permit, if required, would be obtained prior to us accepting the application. And by putting it in the CUP section, it would be applicable to all land uses that would require it. And I think what the next thing to kind of think through is, what are those other permits? Because we're gonna have to be specific and spell this out of kind of like all these if required things, like an NPDS permit or a like a stormwater management permit in a CUP or something like that. And the reality is if we're missing something in there and it's required, we'll have to get it in the conditional use permit process. But anything that we can grab up front could go in that CUP section.
So that would be, like, let's say somebody decides to buy 400 acres, and they're gonna put a golf course on it.
Sure.
Same.
Again, they're gonna have to have that water appropriations, DNR permitting.
Yep, that's a great example.
Not just a feedlot, not just, ECP or some
Right.
big manufacturer, everybody, it applies to everybody, which makes me feel better that we're not supposedly singling out a specific
Yeah.
industry either, too.
Right.
But, it's probably a lot more to talk to.
Right, yeah, well, if anyone wanted, it's something that probably would have never happened out of city limits, but a car wash or something like that as well. That would require so many gallons of usage that would just trigger you need this permit prior to coming in.
Right.
So my thoughts on next steps, we have our agenda for the August Planning Commission meeting already posted, so we're looking at probably picking this up at the September meeting, which if we need to come back for a work session for a little more discussion, gives us time to do that. If we don't need to, I won't do it. But I guess I would look to the board, kind of what you guys want me to do next. If it's just get this to the Planning Commission, have us start piecing through it and get some draft language put together, and go through that process. That's what I'll do, or we can come back to another work session because we do have time before that September agenda would go to the paper.
You get planning and zoning involved?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
That would,
Tim would be there.
Okay.
Let's start getting planning and zoning
Okay.
involved, so it comes through that. And
Sure.
then,
I mean,
yeah.
I just think the involvement of them, it's not a decision that's been struck down from the five, the commissioners.
sure,
Get them involved. They're gonna have to deal with us on every
Yeah.
application deal, so.
I like this, like you said earlier, it doesn't just affect one industry, it's everybody that needs water usage.
That's
and
doing
it's-
with the water part of it.
right,
I
it's-
agree. Yeah.
That way, yeah. How do you feel about that, Adam, in your department, as far as putting that under CUPs? Do you feel comfortable, confident? Is it, or?
I think the biggest hurdle for us is going to be hearing from the applicants, because they're gonna have that perspective, well, we don't wanna get all that stuff without the guaranteed thing. But as long as the language is in the ordinance and it's specific, we will not accept. It doesn't, ultimately, I don't feel like it really makes our job in our office a lot more difficult. Maybe even makes it easier. It's just those conversations with those landowners up front about what's required, what the ordinance says. We'll try to make it as specific and detailed as possible, and if it's in there, there's not a lot of opportunity for any landowners to argue with that language.
So I got a question on that cup we revoked today. Was there appropriate notice and hearing before we made a decision?
I asked Jason about that because we never had a situation where a landowner had requested to remove it, and he said those situations can go directly to the commissioners because it's a landowner requesting the revocation of the CUP. It's not the county coming in, doing a review and saying, well, we're gonna put this up for consideration for
So was that cup recorded with the recorder's office?
Yeah, and then the revocation will be also. So all those documents over the course of time will be recorded, just like the CUP original was. Now there's a document that was in the board packet that Commissioner Becker will sign, that is now revoked. That'll be recorded to the property.
So a question I have running back to the required permits. So are we just gonna have a list of certain permits that are gonna be required? Or certain uses that are gonna be required that permit prior to applying for a CUP?
That's kind of what I'm envisioning. I haven't like drafted anything yet or
Like,
fleshed
you'd
out.
say
but-
like the SWIP plan.
Right.
If there's a stormwater pollution prevention plan needed.
Yep.
Anything that'll disturb over an acre, you need to have this before you're gonna get your CUP.
Right.
And the MPDES, the water appropriation, what other
Yep.
state permits are there?
Yeah.
Are there a couple other ones?
Well, that's what we'd have to,
Yeah,
I'd have
that's
to
what I
go
mean.
and
Yeah, we
think
have to
about
kinda
that.
Get through there and see which
Right.
ones they actually are, and it'll be for everyone. It won't just be.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it'll
that-
encompass every CUP.
And I think it was you, Commissioner Naska, back to last meeting, had the comment about a case-by-case thing, is maybe there are certain types of permits where the state won't issue it until the county has issued, so maybe there's some that it makes sense to leave out of that list of appropriations permit, but it seems to me like the waters withdrawal permit's kind of the big one. That one seems like an appropriate for sure thing to get in there.
Well, water's
but
a
we
big
can-
deal.
Well, absolutely, and it's only gonna
Biggest.
become a bigger deal, you know? But so that's kind of what the process is gonna be, is what are those types of permits or situations that we need to have as like, we'll say that list in the ordinance of getting that before the application, so we'll start putting some thought into that and then prepare it for the September Planning Commission meeting to kick that process off formally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, commissioners, on that note, do any of you want to attend the August 29th Planning and Zoning Training? Adam and I were just talking about it, and I was going to go, and I had sent an email to all of you just asking, did anybody want to sign up for that August 29th? I think it's an all-day session in St. Cloud.
Yep, it's 9 to 3:30. They serve you lunch. As a member county, I think it's $75 per person. I think John was there last year. It's usually really good. Obviously cannabis is gonna be the big agenda topic, but I think they had some conditional use discussion. Creating a good meeting record was one of the topics. There was maybe 5 or 6 of them. I can't remember all of them from the agenda. The formal agenda isn't out yet. They just kind of had some general topics for discussion for this year.
What's the sign-up deadline on that?
I don't believe there is one, but when it's full, it's full.
Yeah.
Right.
So the sooner the better, because it's hundreds of people that are usually there.
Okay.
I'll go on that.
You want to go, Tim? Okay.
I have to check with some things, but I probably would like to attend if
Okay.
they're, but I can't give you a definite just yet. So
Okay,
hit me
just
up in
let
a-
me know,
I gotta-
Commissioner
I gotta run it
Naska,
past the
and
family
then
here
I-
and see what's
I
going
thought
on.
I'd sign us all up at the same time.
It's 9 to when, did you say?
3 or 3:30.
So it's just the regular, basically working hours?
Yeah.
meeting. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Post if you're all attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, why don't you sign me up too? I'll try to get there. The other thing is the AMC Fall Conference is coming up in Alexandria too. And if we want to get our request in to go there, we're going to have to, if we're going to stay at Arrowwood.
I see that. I
Because I
we
think
just
last
got
time
that.
Arrowwood was actually booked out and some of them ended up staying in Alec.
Oh, okay.
So I'm wondering if you shouldn't put a reservation in, and we can always back out of the reservation, but we
Okay.
should get one in.
For
Please be
everybody.
mindful that you have a budget, and if you're not attending, we have to get out of the reservation before. There's been many
Can you
times in
figure
the
out
past.
what the back out date is then too?
Yes,
on that?
because we
Yeah,
have
because
gotten
we
hung.
pay, if we don't
Ourselves?
attend, the county
Costly.
pays the cost of
And then
it.
we could enter into the beanbag tournament as Todd County. There we go.
Adam, will you send that information on that, so we can get it posted correctly?
For the P&Z training, August 29th?
Yeah.
Yeah, just send you like the web link
Give me
to
the
it.
web link so I
Sure,
can get
I can do
Yeah.
that.
Email the other
Yeah,
day.
and then are we allowed to talk about things that weren't on the agenda at all? Just like a quick update?
Yeah.
You can give it up.
Okay, I won't give it, I'll just say this. There's going to be information about the methane digester coming soon. I don't have it all yet, but there's gonna be more coming soon. I know that everybody's been waiting for an update.
Great.
I just was having conversations, emails, stuff this morning, trying to piece it all together, so there might be something happening soon. I'm just getting the details yet, so that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.